This story may completely overturn your understanding of reality. Our contributor, Mr. Zhong, experienced something at a Hunan airport that still sends chills down his spine whenever he recalls it. He took photos and videos with his phone as evidence, irrefutable proof that our reality occasionally glitches. How eerie was this? He walked into a completely empty airport terminal, stepped out for a cigarette, and when he went back in, no more than 3 minutes had passed. Hundreds of people had materialized out of thin air. Even the airline's system data glitched along with it. It happened on September 11th last year, a little past 10 in the morning. Mr. Zhong is from Chengdu, Sichuan. He studied interior design in college, and after graduation put down roots in the exhibition and display industry, planning and designing exhibitions for museums, memorials, and cultural sites nationwide. Due to the nature of the work, business trips were constant. Over the years, he visited almost every major city in the country, his collection of boarding passes filling an entire shoebox. He averaged 40 to 50 flights a year, a true airborne commuter. Airports were as familiar as his own living room. Security procedures were muscle memory. On September 11th, just past 10 in the morning, he walked into an airport terminal in Hunan, and the moment he crossed the threshold, he froze. The entire hall was empty. Not mostly empty. Absolutely, utterly, completely empty. In the whole departure hall, every seat vacant. The stainless steel barrier rails stood completely deserted. Not even a discarded boarding pass on the floor. Past 10 in the morning, peak period for security checkpoint queues. Based on his experience, there should have been at least 2 or 3 flights simultaneously checking in, each counter with long lines. His heart raced abnormally fast. He could feel his temples throbbing, the shirt on his back already soaked through with cold sweat, sticking coldly to his skin. Even stranger was the temperature. Early September in Hunan, the autumn taiga at its fiercest. When he got out of the taxi moments ago, it was at least 30 degrees, the sun beating down on the asphalt, heat waves distorting the distant air. But the cold enveloping him now was entirely different, not the comfortable dry coolness of air conditioning. This was a bone-penetrating chill, damp and clammy, like stepping into a massive underground tomb. That cold burrowed into the cracks of your bones, making you involuntarily shiver. What's more, the air carried an indescribable odor, a smell of time. The stagnant air of an enclosed space that hadn't seen human activity in ages, as if this space hadn't been used by anyone in years. To confirm he wasn't hallucinating, he pulled out his phone and took photos and videos. He snapped the empty check-in hall, the vacant security lanes, the deserted waiting area. Each photo carried an unalterable timestamp. Then he felt an urgent need for a cigarette. To steady his nerves, he stepped outside. No more than 3 minutes. 1 cigarette, then back inside. He pushed open the door, and his scalp went completely numb. Hundreds of people, travelers lined up at check-in counters, some looking at phones, some chatting, some checking watches. Long queues snaked in front of security checkpoints. People removing jackets, pulling laptops from bags. The convenience store cashier was scanning items. The coffee shop server was wiping tables. The PA system broadcast flight information. Everything was so normal it couldn't be more normal. Mr. Zhong stood frozen amid the crowd, like a reef in a flowing river. He slowly blinked, then opened his eyes again. Still a sea of people, noisy and bustling. But he knew with absolute clarity, just 3 minutes ago, he had stood alone in this exact spot, with not a soul around him. Mr. Zhong described that feeling. It was truly like a game scene being instantly loaded, like playing an open-world game, riding into an area that hasn't finished rendering yet, the ground just rough textures and crude geometry. You stop, wait a few seconds, and suddenly, whoosh, trees, grass, NPCs, buildings, lighting, all the textures and models finish loading in an instant, and the world becomes detailed and vibrant. 1 second, an empty texture scene. Next second, whoosh, all NPCs spawned, filling every corner. 3 minutes, 180 seconds. How could several hundred people suddenly appear out of nowhere? He checked his phone photos. The timestamps proved it. The first photo was 10:12 a.m., the empty hall. The last timestamp before he went back inside, 10:15 a.m. The photos after, a crowded, bustling airport at 10:16 a.m., 3 minutes. He suppressed his fear and walked to his gate. At the boarding counter, he showed his phone. The female attendant scanned the QR code and frowned. She scanned again, then tilted the screen toward him. "Sir, your flight has already departed." The screen showed his flight number in red. Departed. Mr. Zhong's mind went blank. He looked at his phone. 10:18 a.m. His boarding pass clearly said departure at 11:30. How could it have departed? "The flight departed early?" His voice was hoarse. "No." Her expression was professional, but something uneasy flickered behind her eyes. "According to our system, this flight departed on schedule at 10:10, but there's no record of you boarding. Your seat was listed as empty, and the flight took off." He felt the world spinning. He pulled up the flight info app, still showing scheduled departure 11:30, but a screen, the airport's internal system, showed departed. "I need to speak with your supervisor." The supervisor, an experienced middle-aged man, checked the system. Same result, departed. Then suddenly, the supervisor's expression flickered with panic. He froze, staring at the screen. "What is it?" "It's nothing," he said quickly, but Mr. Zhong saw. The man's hand on the mouse was trembling. Mr. Zhong stepped closer. On the terminal screen next to the flight record, a note in the system. "Passenger information anomaly. Data recovery in progress." And below that, a second line, flashing red. "This passenger has boarded flight KN 823 route. Current status, in transit." Mr. Zhong's blood ran cold. He was standing right there. The system claimed he'd already boarded a flight that had already departed. The supervisor, voice pressed low. "The system shows you're currently in the air." He gave Mr. Zhong a complex look, as if seeing him for the first time. "Sir, have you bought travel insurance?" Moments later, the system refreshed. The red warning vanished. Every record returned to normal. The flight status became boarding. As if the past 10 minutes, the departed flight, the in-transit passenger, had never happened. They issued a new boarding pass, almost shoving it at him. When he glanced back, walking away, both the attendant and supervisor were staring at his back. The same expression, a mixture of fear and confusion, and almost at the exact same time, his phone pinged. "Dear passenger, due to special circumstances, the departure time of your flight has been delayed to 11:15. Seeing this message, Mr. Zhong's scalp went completely numb. This was already the second flight time adjustment today. In a single day, the same flight, delayed twice, and each time the timing was uncannily coincidental. The first thought that popped into his head sent chills down his spine. This flight seemed to be deliberately waiting for him. Every time he was about to miss it, the departure time would automatically push back. He recalled his earlier experience with the dining app. Waiting to pay, the system screen suddenly showed, "Payment completed." He hadn't paid yet, but the system had already recorded a transaction. The cashier rushed over from another table, scanned again. Normal. The ghost payment vanished, as if it had never existed. Was there a version of himself? A Mr. Zhong from another timeline, who had already boarded earlier? The system record suggested exactly that. Mr. Zhong boarded his flight safely, but he can never again take for granted that this world is stable and reliable. There's a popular theory online, borrowing from Norse mythology, called the Nibelung phenomenon, accidentally wandering into an alternate space nearly identical to reality, but with subtle differences. However, a case like Mr. Zhong's, with clear photos and videos as evidence, more than a dozen photos each carrying unalterable timestamps, a timeline precise to the minute, from empty hall to crowded terminal spanning no more than 3 minutes. Even the airline's database showing anomalies at that exact time is extremely rare. This isn't something explainable as hallucination or misunderstanding. This is a complete, well-documented